Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Look, I put everything down out of my hands because this is the session I look forward to, and I know many of you do. We're looking at life, love, and hope with our relationship coach, Dr. Denise Charles. Dr. Charles, good morning to you.
Good morning, Pearson. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you doing?
Well, I had a great weekend. It was my birthday weekend, so I am really good.
Congratulations. Happy birthday. You are a Capricorn. Good girl. Good girl.
Yes.
Hint, hint. Good girl. Mine is approaching. Mine is approaching.
Great.
Yes, indeed.
Maybe that's why we connect so well.
Perhaps that's the reason why, indeed. So on what date, by the way, on what date?
Saturday gone, the 14th.
The 14th. That's the same day as a very good friend of my lifelong friend, Michelle Trotman, her name. She too is celebrating on that. And Eugenia Edie, who watches our show, she also would have celebrated then. So there you go. Lovely ladies.
Excellent.
Indeed. Today we're talking crazy in love. You know, when people become really obsessive to the point where they feel as though they own you, and there's nothing you could do without them wanting to be there. They scour all of your socials just to see where you've been, who you've been with. Let's talk about that and how unhealthy that could possibly be.
Yes, Pearson. Could I trouble you a bit and say I have a little issue with that actual term, crazy in love?
Okay.
Because I understand exactly what you mean, but what I want to point out to all of those listening, and as I'm sure you're very aware, is that when you have that sort of crazy, obsessive connection with someone, that's really not love, even though we do sometimes identify it as love. You know, it is something that is mimicking love, but it is really not true love, because we know that love is always an emotion that wants what is best for the other person. It does not mean that we always do the right things, though, in relationships, because we know sometimes we hurt the ones we love, but really love is not that crazy obsessive behavior that we sometimes see exemplified in movies and in books and in real life, you know, even though it does mimic real love. But I do understand, I do get what you're saying. And when we are in a relationship where we are seeing that type of unhealthy behavior, it is very important that we recognize it as dysfunctional behavior. It is not good behavior. So if there's a relationship where you find your partner wants to check your every move, you know, as you said, they're checking your socials, they're into your phone, you know, you don't have any freedom to be yourself. You know, I've heard of relationships where the male, and I know it can come from the female as well, so don't come for me.
Yes,
you know, where the male wants to dictate what hairstyle the woman wears, what shade lipstick, or if she wears lipstick, you know, that type of thing. And it can run the full gamut of strange, unhealthy behaviors. And we need to look out for that and really recognize it as something that is dysfunctional and really not true love.
So it's unhealthy, but where does it come from? I mean, where does it come from? Because it's not something you necessarily mimic or pattern yourself after, but where within your emotional space does this unhealthy habit come from?
I think it can come from a variety of spaces, but when I think about it, I think that perhaps you may have had an unhealthy attachment style as a child. You may have had an issue with your parents where you didn't trust, or you didn't feel as if you were cared for. You know, we hear a lot about attachment and attachment theory, those of us who would have done psychology, and we know that a child is supposed to have a healthy attachment for their child, for their parents, sorry. But you may be one who didn't have that type of healthy attachment. Maybe you thought that your mother would disappear or your father would disappear if they were not around you all the time. And where that sense of insecurity came from, it could be from a variety of sources. It may be about something that happened in your childhood with the same parents, something that caused you not to trust them, or it could just be a personality quirk. You know, because we are born with specific types of personalities and so on. and then we are molded as we grow. So I think it could be a variety of reasons why you may feel that way, but you have to examine yourself if you are the person feeling the emotion or if you're the person experiencing the obsessive emotion. You also have to examine the situation. But I think it is far easier for you to be able to recognize it in someone else than it may be for you to recognize it in yourself, just because of the
Yes.
nature of what it is. Because if you've always been obsessive, then you may find that you don't recognize that your behavior is strange because that's how you've always interfaced with people. But if you're the one experiencing it, particularly if you were in a healthy relationship before, then you can recognize and say, "Well, this is strange. This is off. This is off kilter. There's something about this that just doesn't sit right with me. I don't like the idea of being controlled. I don't like the idea of being manipulated. I don't like the idea of being watched every turn I make, every decision I make. I can't make it on my own because my partner wants to invade my space." Now, we have to look at this against healthy interdependence in a relationship. Because I know a lot of us, especially, us career women or so on, we may feel, well, I'm independent. I'm my own woman. I make my own decisions. I've made my own decisions all my life, because you may have been someone who's been by yourself a long time. Then you find yourself in a relationship. So it's difficult for you to navigate now being in a space where you really should be interdependent, because I don't like to speak of, yes, independence is great and you need to be able to stand on your own two feet, so don't get me wrong, but when it comes to a relationship, that I must move to we, and we must begin to share perspectives or share our opinions. We may not always have the same opinion about things, and we need to be able to compromise. So those things are critical in a relationship, but we have to be able to decipher what is strange when things are going off kilter, as I said before, and what we definitely will not put up with. But if we are not in a healthy space ourselves, and then someone else is displaying this type of behavior, we may embrace it. Sometimes if you're young and immature, you may even think, well, he really loves me because he wants to stipulate everything I put on. He really loves me. That old time thing people used to say, well, if he doesn't love me, he won't hit me, and that type
That's
of
right.
nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So sometimes our own dysfunction can lead us into accepting and embracing dysfunctional behavior in other people and misreading it and thinking that if he's controlling or manipulating, or she's controlling or manipulating a lot, then that is really love. They really love you, when really and truly that is a dysfunctional behavior that needs further investigation, because it's really abusive, Pearson. It is a form
Yes.
of abuse.
Sometimes you wonder if they didn't know better from the beginning, because at the beginning you saw all the glory, the beautiful things. Nothing like this
Yes.
was a problem
Yes.
until there was a level of commitment, and suddenly the beast was unleashed. And while
Yes.
you might be sitting here thinking, but I was raised differently from this, and so what I'm seeing here I don't like. How do I get you, who's displaying this negative behavior, to hear and to see yourself so that you begin to fix it?
The thing, Pearson, is that when it comes to relationships, we really cannot get people to change. Okay? It is good to have conversations when you're in a relationship about things that you don't like. It is good to be able to talk about it. It is good to be able to be open about the things that you don't like or you don't prefer. But really, you cannot change another person. That person has to make that choice for themselves. So while I do laud the idea of speaking and sharing how you feel, and perhaps even suggesting that there is some sort of counseling intervention if the person is open to it, you cannot make that person change. That person has to see themselves. They have to see who they are and make that decision. Well, I want to be different. This is not healthy. This is not helping me. Maybe I need to look to see where this is coming from, what area of dysfunction in my own life this is coming from, what area of deficit this is coming from, and address that issue. But very often, sometimes people who have been emotionally traumatized or who have gone through some area of challenge in their formative years, it is not always easy to see that thing that they need to deal with, but it can be done. It can be done. The person can be encouraged to speak to someone professionally if they're not open to speaking to the partner. The partner may not have the skills necessary to help that person even navigate the challenge, but if they do, because there's some partners who may, they may be able to help them work it through. But that ultimate change resides with the individual, because we cannot make someone change.
Dear, oh dear, oh dear. If you
That's
find
the
yourself
truth.
trapped in it.
That's the reality. We can't make them
Yes.
change. We can
Because,
encourage them. We can create an enabling environment to help them,
yes.
though. we can create, because I do not believe in empowering bad behavior. So we do have to hold people accountable. We have to confront. I believe in loving confrontation, and we have to speak, so not so much from the space of accusation, you always doing this and you always doing that, I don't know wrong you, not from that space at all of judgment and accusation, which is only going to increase negative feelings and negative behaviors in the other person. But you want to talk about how you feel. You really make me feel as if I am not valuable, or I'm not valued, because you're always trying to manipulate me. You're always trying to control me. I do not like the way it makes me feel. So you focus more on how you feel as a result of the dysfunctional behavior, whatever it is that's being displayed, as opposed to what the person is doing. So it's not about you accusing them, but it is about you telling them how their behavior is causing you to feel. Hopefully, if you do it in the right way, perhaps they may be open, but they may not be either. So it is really something that you have to balance, you have to monitor, and you have to make a decision that is going to be ultimately beneficial to you. Because even though we know that love is about giving, and love is about putting the other person first and honoring the other person and all of that, which is excellent, we also have to love ourselves. The Bible says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. You really cannot love another person from a place of self-hate, or, where you're putting down yourself. You can't put down yourself in order to lift someone up. You have to value you. You have to see that you are critical, you are important. You have something to give to this life. You have something, you have purpose. When you embrace who you are, then you're in a more healthy space to love someone else. And that includes not tolerating abusive or manipulative or controlling behavior.
Well said, well put. Run for the hills if you can't manage it.
That's right, because it could be dangerous. Dependent, it could be very dangerous.
Get out of it,
So
get out of it.
Don't joke about this. This is
Yes,
something that's
yes.
serious, and it's about you preserving yourself, preserving your sense of sanity, preserving your sense of well-being, your sense of peace. You want to have that peace. You want to know that this relationship is something that's really going to benefit me in the long run. Yes, I want to add value to someone else's life, but I'm not Jesus. I can't save them. They have to really connect with themselves and get that thing that is wrong right. Some
So,
women like to be saviors.
you
Lots of women
listen,
love to be
I
saviors
know.
in relationships. Yeah, because we take on that responsibility.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a part of our nurturing personality, the fact that we have those hormones in perhaps high loads when it comes to taking care and nurturing. This is what makes us excellent mothers. Even if we're not natural biological mothers, we tend to mother a lot. That's a part of the female persona. So I don't know if it is because of that sometimes we take on relationships, we take on the responsibility of the health of the relationship. And that includes sometimes taking on the responsibility for helping that man to get himself right. But that is really not our responsibility. Yes, we can expose him to things. We can talk to him. We can expose him to books, to good videos to watch. We can point him in directions, but ultimately he has to make that choice. And the same is true if it is a woman, because we know there are some men who are also very nurturing as well.
Listen, we got to leave it right there. But seeing Francine has one called Runaway. Nadia Batson
Yes.
has one called Manager. The boys who just
Yes.
dictate all the pace like them is the boss here. Those kinds of things you got to be very, very careful of. And so this series will help people to be able to understand better how we manage our relationships. So anyone watching today who wants to have further discussion on this subject, how you find yourself crazy in love, and I use that word deliberately, and you find
Yes.
yourself having to manage that dysfunction and you don't know how to find your way out of the trap of it, we can call you, right? We can talk to you.
Of course, they can talk to me. They can hit me up on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. I'm Speak Right. And I also have a YouTube channel, Living with Dr. Denise J. Charles. So I'm all around social media.
There you go. Find her and let's see if we can find your way out of this particular trap as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Denise. We'll see you again next week. God spare life. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great
You're
day.
welcome. And you too. Thank you so much. What a subject. Have you found yourself like that? And if you found yourself like that, or you don't like who you are, or you don't like the one who you're with, behaving like that, contact Dr. Denise Charles. She's on YouTube. She's on social media. She can help you manage your way out of it or through it.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning.